I still remember the day he left. It was a sunny morning, yet the air felt heavy around me. We stood near the old bus station, where people came and went with bags, dreams, and promises. I held his hand tightly, not wanting to let go. He said he was going to the city to find a better life. He promised to come back for me. I was 22 then, young and full of love. He was 25, ambitious and hopeful. His name was Michael, and he was everything to me. When his bus pulled away, I waved until it disappeared down the long road. I believed he would come back. I truly did. I had no reason to doubt him after all. We had built so many dreams together. For the first few months, he called me often. His voice always carried hope. "Be patient, Rose," he would say. "Once I settle down, I'll come for you. We'll live in the city together. You'll see." Those words became my song. I repeated them to myself whenever I missed him. But soon, the calls grew fewer. The texts stopped coming. Then, one day, silence. At first, I thought something terrible had happened. I tried to reach him, but his number no longer worked. His friends in the village didn't know where he was. I even wrote letters, though I didn't know where to send them. Months turned into years. And life went on. The pain of waiting slowly turned into emptiness. Then the emptiness became strength. I went back to school, determined to build a life for myself. I took small jobs selling clothes at the market during the day, attending classes at night. People used to pity me, whispering, "Poor Rose. Michael left her." But I smiled through their pity. Deep down, I promised myself one thing: if he ever came back, he would not find the same woman he left behind. Years passed, and the city became my home. I got a job in a bank. It wasn't easy at first, but I was a fast learner. I rented my own apartment, learned to drive, and slowly built my confidence. There were nights I cried, yes, nights when loneliness wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. But every tear watered the strength inside me. I stopped waiting. I stopped hoping. And one day, I simply stopped caring. By the time I turned 32, I had become someone else. A woman who didn't beg for love. A woman who looked in the mirror and saw worth, not wounds. Then, he came back. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had gone to the supermarket to buy groceries. I was pushing my cart through the aisles when I heard a voice, deep, familiar, and trembling. "Rose." I froze. My hands gripped the handle of the cart. I turned slowly, and there he was, Michael. For a moment, the world seemed to stop moving. My heart raced, but not from love this time, from shock, confusion, and something else I couldn't name. He looked older. His once bright eyes were tired, his face lined with regret. His hair had started to turn grey at the edges. He smiled weakly, as if unsure if he had the right to. "Michael," I whispered. His name felt strange on my tongue, like a song I used to know but had long forgotten the tune of. He took a step closer. "I can't believe it's you. You've changed so much." I smiled faintly. 10 years is a long time." He nodded, his eyes searching mine for warmth. "I came back for you," he said. "I wanted to find you." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. 10 years. A decade of silence. And suddenly, he came back for me. "Why now?" I asked quietly. He looked down, his hands shaking slightly. "I made mistakes, Rose. I thought I'd make it in the city quickly, but life wasn't kind. I tried many things. I failed. I was ashamed to come back empty-handed. But I never forgot you. I wanted to feel something: anger, love, pity, but I felt nothing. Just calmness. Like I was standing on the other side of a storm I had already survived. "I waited for you, Michael," I said softly. 4 years. But you didn't come back." Tears filled his eyes. "I know. And I'll never forgive myself for that. But I want to make things right. Please, can we talk? Maybe have dinner?" I looked at him for a long time. The man standing in front of me was not the same one who left. Time had humbled him. But I wasn't the same either. I was no longer that young girl who waited by the window for a phone call that never came. Still, I agreed to dinner. Not because I wanted to rekindle anything, but because I wanted closure. That evening, we met at a quiet restaurant by the city lights. He looked nervous, fumbling with his spoon. I sat across from him, calm and collected. "So, tell me," I said. "What have you been doing all these years?" He sighed. "After I left, things went wrong. I lost my first job within months. Then I tried starting a business, but it failed. I met people who promised to help me but used me instead. I was too proud to come back empty-handed. And now, I work with a small company. I finally decided to stop running from my past. I wanted to see you again. I wanted to say sorry." His words were sincere. I could tell he meant them. But apology doesn't always heal what time has already changed. "Do you still live alone?" he asked gently. "Yes," I said. "But not lonely." He smiled sadly. "You always were strong." "No," I said, shaking my head. "I became strong because I had to." There was silence between us. The sound of soft music filled the air. Then he asked, "Do you still love me?" That question hung between us like smoke. I looked at him, my heart steady. "Love," I repeated. "I loved who you were. But that woman, the one who loved you, she doesn't exist anymore. She grew, she healed, she changed. She stopped waiting for someone who wasn't coming." He looked down, tears rolling down his face. "I understand." I took a deep breath and said, "I don't hate you, Michael. I'm actually grateful. You leaving forced me to find myself. I used to think I needed you to be complete. But I was wrong. I just needed time and me." He nodded, wiping his tears. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." "I already have it," I said with a small smile. After dinner, he walked me to my car. The night was calm, almost too calm. The air smelled of rain and memories, that soft, sweet scent that comes just before the first drop touches the earth. The city lights shimmered in puddles left from an earlier drizzle, and the breeze played gently with my hair. We walked slowly, neither of us in a hurry to reach the car. The sound of our footsteps echoed softly on the pavement. 10 years of silence, 10 years of growing apart, and yet, here we were, walking side by side again. When we reached my car, I stopped and turned to face him. He looked at me with that same tender gaze I once knew so well, only now it was mixed with something deeper, regret. For a moment, we just stood there, saying nothing. The silence between us wasn't awkward, it was heavy with things we both wanted to say but couldn't find the right words for. "Rose," he said softly, his voice breaking the quiet. "Can we start again? Maybe as friends?" His voice trembled slightly, as if he was afraid I would turn and walk away. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man standing before me was once the center of my universe. I used to dream of this very moment, of him coming back, saying he missed me, asking for another chance. But standing there, under the streetlight, I realized something. The dream had expired long before he returned. "Maybe," I said, my voice calm, almost distant. "But let's not force the past into the present. Let's respect what was and let it rest." He swallowed hard. "You've really changed." "Yes," I said, smiling faintly. "And I'm proud of it." He smiled too, though his eyes looked like they were holding back tears. "I missed you, Rose. Every single day." I took a deep breath. "You missed the idea of me, Michael, not the person I am now. The woman standing in front of you isn't the girl you left behind. She learned to live without you." He looked away, pain written all over his face. The rain finally began to fall, softly at first, then steadily. Drops landed on my skin, cool and refreshing. I didn't move. I let the rain wash over me like a quiet blessing. Michael stepped forward, hesitated, and then stopped. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For everything." "I know," I said gently. "And I forgive you." Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant I was free from the pain, the waiting, the questions that haunted me for years. "Goodbye, Michael," I said, opening my car door. He nodded, his voice breaking. "Goodbye, Rose." As I drove away, I glanced at him through the mirror. He stood there in the rain, still, silent, and small like a shadow from a story that had finally ended. The road home was quiet. Streetlights stretched like golden threads across the wet asphalt. I turned off the radio and let my thoughts fill the silence. I thought about how strange life is, how the people we once thought we couldn't live without become strangers we pass in the rain. How love that once felt endless can fade without bitterness, only peace. 10 years ago, I was a girl in love, fragile, hopeful, waiting for someone to complete me. Now, I was a woman who understood that I was already whole. By the time I got home, the rain had stopped. I stood in front of my mirror, still in my damp clothes, and looked at my reflection. My hair was messy, my eyes tired, but there was a glow in them, a quiet strength that came from surviving heartbreak and building myself again. I saw not the scars of abandonment, but the light of healing. For the first time in my life, I whispered to my reflection, "I'm glad he left." The words surprised me, but they felt right. If he hadn't left, I would have never learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I would never have discovered the power that comes from pain turned into purpose. I smiled at myself, not the shy smile of the old me, but a full, confident smile, the smile of a woman who had conquered herself. But life, as always, had its little ironies. A few weeks later, Michael started calling again. At first, just simple messages, polite, almost careful. "Hope you had a good day. Have you eaten? Just checking in." They were harmless words, but they carried weight, the weight of a man trying to rebuild a bridge that had already turned to dust. I didn't ignore him completely, but I didn't encourage him either. I replied with kindness, but with distance. I had learned something valuable, that boundaries are not walls, they are gates you control. I had learned that love without consistency, without respect, without effort is just noise. A few weeks later, he appeared at my office. I remember it so clearly. It was a bright afternoon. I was busy typing on my computer when my secretary walked in with a knowing smile. "Rose, there's a man here to see you. Says he's an old friend." Before I could even respond, Michael stepped into my office, holding a bouquet of flowers, white lilies, my favorite. My colleagues glanced over curiously, whispering and smiling. Some of them probably thought he was my boyfriend. He stood there, awkward but hopeful. "I wanted to surprise you," he said softly. "To say thank you, for dinner, for listening, for forgiving me." I stood up slowly, walked around my desk, and took the flowers from him. They smelled sweet, like old memories, but something about them felt heavy. "Michael," I said quietly, "these are beautiful. But you shouldn't have." He looked down, his voice low. "I can't stop thinking about you. Can't we even try again?" I shook my head gently. "You're asking for something that doesn't exist anymore. The version of me who wanted you doesn't live here anymore." For a moment, he said nothing. Then he smiled sadly. "I guess I was too late." "Yes," I said softly. "But maybe it's for the best." He nodded, eyes glistening. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." "I already have it," I said, meaning every word. He lingered for a moment, then turned and walked away. That was the last time I saw him. 2 years have passed since that day. I haven't heard from him again. Sometimes, when I drive past that same restaurant where we had dinner, I remember the way he looked at me, the regret, the longing, the helplessness. But I don't feel pain anymore. Only peace. I've learned that some people are not meant to stay forever. Some come to teach you lessons about love, patience, and yourself. Michael taught me all 3. He left me broken once, but I rebuilt myself with stronger bricks. He once made me feel small, but now I stand taller than I ever have. He came back hoping to find the same woman he left behind. But I wasn't her anymore. And I never will be.